Kilby Browne with the Property Hats New York City Team, coming at you from Quarantineville in the home office. So, Marizete, who's coming back in a second, is going to join me. And we are Marizete and I real estate agents. So we spend an awful lot of time in Manhattan. Come on, Marizete, join the party. In Manhattan. And hello. And a lot of our day is going between visiting clients and going on showings. So we spend a lot of our day in the subway. Nice. And one of the things that we love about New York City, we love about the energy of Manhattan, is the music in the subway. That's what gives one of the things that gives New York City life, that gives New York City its energy. And you can just go from station to station. I know going from the Port Authority, taking the 7 to Grand Central, you can probably see 4, 5, 6 different acts. And it's so much fun. And it's so amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love it. Oh my God. I always stop and film a little bit. I give some money when I have a chance. Sometimes we are in a rush, but I always appreciate the musicians.
And Marizete and I met dancing years ago in Hoboken. So we actually met dancing. So music is kind of a similar bond between us. So when I got the opportunity to meet you, I was so excited because I love music, and you're such a wonderful, wonderful musician. You're an even better person. But why don't you just jump on a second, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background before we jump into the rest of the program.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eganam Segebefia. I informally go by Ego, and I play the trumpet, and I've been playing the trumpet for about 21 years. Well, 21 years in September. I'm originally born in Ghana. I'm born in Nigeria to Ghanaian parents, and I moved here in February 1999 after my mom won the visa lottery, and we became permanent residents here. And I started playing the trumpet in the 5th grade, and I haven't stopped since. So it has been an amazing journey. Playing the trumpet has taken me to over 40 states in America, and it's taken me to South America and back to Africa a couple times, but not yet to Europe. And hopefully that after this quarantine period and all that stuff, and we go back to normal, I can head over, on the other side of the pond. But I'm a musician. I got my humble start busking in the subway. Prior to the subway, I was playing at Central Park and playing by Yankee Stadium, and I make that transition from the parks to the subway in May of 2015, and that was an amazing turnaround because in the parks, people can stop and listen to you because no one's in a rush in a park. But in the subway, you have 5 seconds, if not less, to grab someone's attention and to, really just, have them stop doing whatever they're doing, even if it's for 10 seconds to look at you and keep it going. So that's what that looks like from my perspective. And it's been an amazing journey so far.
Great. Now, let me ask you, Igor, what do you wish you had known when you started out?
I wish I'd known more of the business aspect of it. And because I've met so many people who come from so many different backgrounds that I didn't know how to cultivate the business aspect of networking with people and working with them. And I don't regret anything. I just wish that if I had more information on that and sought after it, I'd be in a different space now. Different space, but I'm still gonna get there. I'm just taking a longer route rather than the shorter route. That having a business understanding of how things work in New York as far as recording studios, doing features with people, doing different types of events, private events and things like that. If I'd known that a long time ago, I would have been on much further along on the journey, but I'm still on the same journey.
Wonderful. And what are you curious right now? Something that you are curious about right now. What's happening, in your life?
Right now, I'm really curious, especially with COVID-19 going crazy around the world, especially here in New York City, is how musicians are composing songs of this specific time and how it works. Because if you look on, about 100 years ago, during the world wars, great composers like Shostakovich, they were writing Shostakovich, Paul Hindemith, they were writing music of their time, and it sounded really, really aggressive because it was the war. People went to war, they left their family, it was a lot of bloodshed. But now people are dying, but it's like a silent killer. So like the question that, and what my curiosity is coming now is, how can, how do musicians put that on, in
the perspective,
paper, in that perspective of how to relate to people? Because you don't know, you just catch the symptoms and then you go to the hospital, and unfortunately most people don't come back, and that's the problem that is facing us now. I'm also very curious as to how far I can stretch the music, my musical versatility, because I grew up listening to hip hop music. I went to a high school that we did pop music, and then after that I did drum and bugle corps, which is like putting classical music on a marching band field. And then from then on, I transitioned into a classical orchestral trumpet player. And now, after I've graduated, I am going more in the soloistic route, finding myself playing jazz, finding myself in a little bit more of a hip hop scene. And now I'm very curious as to how far I can stretch and bring the classical realm, or the classical pedagogy of understanding, how to play the instrument into that realm, but without losing the integrity and the technicality of what it takes to be a classical trumpet player. So that's what I'm very curious about right now.
Yeah, it's a very, very hard moment that we are living right now. It's so sad, and you can even say goodbye, to someone that's dying. So, yeah, it's a heartbreak. And so, Kilby, do you have any questions?
So is this, in terms of the music, are you experimenting with this at home? Are you intentionally experimenting, or are you just practicing and it's just coming to you, or how does that process work?
I'm doing a bit of both. So at home now, what I do is every Wednesday from 7 p.m. till about 7:45, I do a live concert from my living room. And I put that on my Facebook Live and also on my Instagram Live. And together with that, I do a lot of private events on Zoom, because people have seen me perform on live and on Facebook and Instagram. They say, hey, I would like to do the same thing for my family members, but I only want my family members to watch. Is there, a platform that you can, do this? I say, sure. So I use Zoom and I do it that way. I used to perform regularly at a rehabilitation center called the Village Care. And since, COVID-19 has, come, I can't physically be there. So we came up with our way of being able to do it. Instead of me using Zoom, I use another platform called GoToMeeting, and I was able to perform, and they broadcasted it on all of the TVs in the hospital.
Wonderful!
This was something. It really made me feel good, and I was so happy about that. Now, as far as the stretching the music, I am very, very actively doing that. I write music, but I write it in the classical integrity. And then I find how the chords work and line up with, the songs. Because the good thing is that with pop music, it's very modal. And what modal means is that it doesn't change keys very often. So what I do is I just get it and I write it into that same key and make sure that I line up with the beats or line up with whatever the artist is singing. And then because it's a trumpet, it has the ability to play other melodies. So I go in and out of that, and it's just finding the balance of being able to swing into different melodies and come back into it. And there is no improvising, so it's not jazz in a sense.
Wow, that's amazing.
Amazing.
And I don't know if you want to touch back in the business or something else, but what have you failed at in this whole endeavor that you've been working on for the last number of years?
Oh man, I failed all the time. I feel,
and that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
That's how you learn and grow, right?
The most recent failure was my first ever live Instagram concert. I had no good lighting, so it was like they were watching a shadow and hearing music. So that was the failure. And then I went back and as I was watching, I was like, why are people not able to see me? And why is it not clear? Because I had lights in the room. but I realized that I put the lights in the wrong place. And because I'm always in front of the camera, I didn't know what goes on behind the camera to make the person in front of the camera look good. So that was one failure.
But I mean, sure, the sound was great. People loved it anyway, right?
Thank you. Yes, they did. They did. And another thing that with that was I had to find a balance between playing really loud or to match the my accompaniment, or bringing both low so that I can match it so it doesn't peak too much on the recording. And that was one thing that I also had to learn, because every day I find myself in creating a new path, because I'm not the conventional trumpet player that plays either in Broadway or plays in a symphony orchestra. I'm trying to find my own way, my own niche. And every day it's like, I'm stumbling and I fall, and then I get back up and I'm like, oh, okay, this is another new skill that I can add. And then I put it in my bag and then I keep going. And it makes me more available and more versatile. And I think at the end of the day, that is what is going to help me to be able to reach more people and be able to, share my music ultimately.
And do you have a dream? Where really would you like to be playing, or you enjoy every?
I can go down. I can go down the list. I am not. At first, when I first started, I dreamed of playing in Yankee Stadium, Madison Square Garden, Barclays, Carnegie Hall, Avery Fisher Hall, Sydney Opera House, and all these different places. But I had to start playing in the streets, and it was almost like an evangelist. An evangelist goes out and they bring the word to people. And because most people don't know, your job is to then educate them. And what I realized is that when I went out into the street and I started playing, it's a huge responsibility, because one, I'm playing classical music. And if I don't play correctly, someone who knows about it will say, hey, you're not doing it the right way. And I can't necessarily get upset because I put myself out there. You get what I'm saying? It's like an evangelist can't go out and tell a lie about the Bible. You get what I'm saying? They have to know what they're saying. Yeah. And so I thought about it in that respect. And I said, I have to make sure that I know what I'm doing. And every day, again, I stumbled, I failed, and it worked. And one thing that I have learned and has really, really encouraged me throughout this whole time is that, there are two things to build anything that you want to, either if it's a skyscraper or any goal you want. You got to have a strong work ethic. And number two, you got to have a good attitude. Those two things will get you anywhere you want to go. And I realized that because, no matter where I set up shop, it's there. And now for me, the world is my stage. I can go outside and play and get the same feeling, I believe, that I would go and play in Carnegie Hall, because it doesn't matter what the stage looks like. The acoustics may sound better, but as a performer, I have to make sure that whatever I am working on, it shouldn't be, because I'm playing in the street, I shouldn't give it my 1,000%. Or because it's Carnegie Hall, now I have to act a certain kind of way. No, I got to be authentic and be who I am wherever I am. And I think that's what the journey is about. And the journey of life is finding your authenticity and sharing that authenticity with people.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I mean, there's so many different ways I can take this, and I can go back and tell you that as a business point of view. Mm-hmm. I mean, I worked on Wall Street for many, many years, and then worked in doing events, actually all over Latin America. And now we've been in real estate for a number of years now, and I meet people from all different walks of life in real estate. I mean, when I say people, I mean also agents, and they have all different backgrounds. And I have more of a business background, and I have a business degree and a finance degree, and understand all those markets. But still, the business part of it, the business part of being a real estate agent is really the hardest thing to figure out. Because the personal relationships comes naturally. Everything else comes naturally. But building a business, when you're an entrepreneur and you're your own boss and you have to wake up at a certain time, there's no one yelling at you, and you have to get to a certain location, and you have to be at your best, whether you're dealing with one person, whether you're dealing with someone who has a small budget someone has a very large budget, and people are going to ask you all sorts of questions, just like you're being asked different questions about music. And we feel the same way. We can be asked a very specific question, or we can be asked a very, very complicated question. And real estate is such an all-encompassing thing that when I hear you talk about the business point of view, it makes it really hits home, because
That's
even
awesome.
I wasn't prepared for all of that, even when we got into this business. So I really understand where you're coming from. And I know deep down, you just want to play music and share your joy, share your joy with people. And I think the business part of it, I mean, it must be very difficult for you right now. You're going through difficult times. You can't play in the street. You can't play, you can't go to events. You can't play to parties. And that emotionally, I know we don't think that our situations are worse than anyone else's, because we're alive, we're fine, we're not sick. But that still must be very, very tough emotionally and financially to be going through this process, right?
Yes, it is. Excuse me. It is tough and financially, but what I've come to realize, well, before I speak about that, I have to say this. My father used to always tell me, Eganam, save money for a rainy day. Save money for a rainy day. Save money for a rainy day. Right now, it's thunderstorming. So that
big time.
This is a thunderstorm. It's turned into a tornado. Hopefully, it doesn't turn into a tornado. And that has helped me to be able to, kind of stay afloat. I am very blessed at the fact that people are still very interested in my playing, that they're saying, hey, we don't necessarily have to have you physically here. We can have you on Zoom. So a lot of my business now, the income is not as much, it's not at 100%, but I'd take any percent over 0% right now, because I'm not making any expectations. And I've also come to realize, the government that in New York City, especially, I major shout outs to Governor Cuomo and a lot of the rent property people are where I'm at right now. They are not going to overcharge us for, there are no late fees. And they said that, hey, if you can pay whatever you can pay, you can pay that. We'd expect the money, hope, when the economy opens up. But right now, we're not gonna, jump down your backs. And that has lifted a bit of a pressure off as well. And another thing that's lifted a bit of the pressure is just having this time to be creative. I'm a person, like you said, as an entrepreneur, I create my time. So I look at it as a huge pizza pie that's divided into 24 parts. And okay, 1 hour is a slice. And I have to make sure that each slice is equally, given to where it needs to be in every specific day. So that at the end of the day, when I look at my planner, what are my goals that I've accomplished? So it doesn't matter where I'm at and what I'm doing, that planner is still there, and the 3 goals that are there. So I have goal, then I have 3 priorities as far as what I want to do. And the 3 priorities are, spiritually, mentally, and physically. And so those are the things. Then from there, it breaks down into more of a tree. So it's like a family tree. Today's goal is this. It's, I say, today's goal is to be better than yesterday. And in order to be better than yesterday, that comes into 3 parts. Spiritually, how well have I connected with Jesus and God today? Have I read the Bible? Mentally, have I picked up a book that's gonna, stimulate my mind? Am I working on, my goals as far as writing music? And then physically, how am I staying physically sane? Because again, I generally, when I was outside, I would be moving around, 4 to 6 different locations, kind of like you guys in a day. And I'd be taking an average about 16,000 steps. Now my average amount of steps, if I don't go outside, it's maybe 2,000. So I make sure that I get up early at 6 o'clock in the morning, because I'm an early riser, and I go running from 7 to 8. Usually 7 to 8 or 7 to 7:30, and then I come back home, and that's usually my exercise. But I make that a Monday through Friday thing to kind of keep that same cycle going, because you can get so caught up in just being home and having this relaxed amount of time. But this is not going to last forever. There's going to be a time where you have to come back out, go into the world, and you don't want that to also be a drastic change. It is for me. And then the last thing is staying in contact with friends and family. And Me and my family, we have so many different group chats on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Instagram, and we are constantly communicating, that way. And it's not always formal, it's not going to be formal, but we do make it a thing that at least once a month we all get on Zoom together. And this was before the crisis. So we would get on Zoom and we would talk to each other, see how each other's doing, plan a family vacation, kind of like, like family reunion and all that good stuff, just to make sure that we keep things going, because the continuality it is what it is. And the last thing now, I said last thing already, but this is the major last thing, is this is a perfect opportunity to change the trajectory of your life. It's very seldom that you get a pause on life where, no one's breathing on your back about, staying up to date with bills and things, and you're being told to stay home. You can actually use this time to figure out what it is that you're lacking on. There are free courses, and my friend just told me today, which I'm gonna do some research on. There are free courses at Harvard. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe there's a business class that's free that I can go find out. And that is something that's going to help change my trajectory, because I look at it again as, there's another saying, the 5 F's, your faith, family, friends, finance, and fitness. And for me, the finance is not as up there as the rest of them. So I make sure that, okay, now if I want to change my trajectory as to where I see myself within the next 5, 10, 20 years, I got to make sure that my finances are on point. And now is the best time, because if I was outside running around, I don't have time for this free online class. I don't have time for this. Right now, I have all the time in the world. All I have to do is put it in a planner, schedule it, and do it.
Wow, wonderful. Now, if you could have a billboard with anything on it, what that would be and why?
Inspiration without perspiration is hallucination.
Wow.
Inspiration with perspiration is achievement. So
Wonderful.
it gives you both sides on it, because in this world, the distance between you and any goal is time. First and foremost is time. And how you get from point A to point B is determined on your time. And so you get the inspiration. You're going to have to perspire at some point. Nothing comes out of thin air. So you have to perspire, and to get to that, there are so many different other words that you can use, but in being able to explain it, like, being determined, being dedicated, being perseverant, being patient. But it all ultimately boils down to time and work, and the focused work that you're going to do in between it. So it would say inspiration without perspiration is hallucination, because if you inspire to do something and you don't work for it, you're hallucinating. And
Exactly.
you may need help, or you may need a prayer, but that's
Beautiful.
between you and your maker. And then the second one is inspiration with perspiration is achievement, because if you're inspired to do something and you work for it, it's only a matter of time until you get there. And time is patience. So that's it.
I think that's really, really beautiful.
Thank you.
It's gorgeous. One thing I've seen a lot on the internet over the last couple of years is people say, if I could say something to my younger self, like when I was 18 years old, what advice should I give to that person after, X number of years of a living life? So what advice would you give?
That's starting,
What advice would you give to yourself, or what advice would you give to someone else who's a teenager, for example?
The first thing I would say to my 18-year-old self is thank you, because I am happy with my life right now.
Good.
All of my goals are not accomplished, but I am happy with my life right now. I have made a lot of mistakes, as everyone has made mistakes, but mistakes are scars, and scars give us character. And so the only advice that I would give myself is be more lenient with yourself. Enjoy the moment. Don't think of the future all the time. Think of the moment that you're here, and be present. As an instrumentalist, we are forced to be in present when we practice, because you have to physically, be in there, touching the instrument and feeling what it's doing to your body. But most of the time, even though we're feeling that, we're, our minds are like gone somewhere. And so I would always tell myself, hey, think of right now, focus in this moment. That's the advice I would give to myself.
So So you always visualize yourself in some place and like playing at the Lincoln Center or any like a big stage, right? So when
Yes.
you're practicing, or I wish I can play this song, at
Mm-hmm.
Carnegie Hall, for example. So
Yes.
that's what you want to try to bring for today, what you are living today. Or tomorrow I may be playing at the subway again at Grand Central, and that's okay too, right? That's your
Mm-hmm.
moment for now. Not
Yes,
that
that
you
is the moment. And one thing that people forget, and I think this is with society, until someone tells them, or there's an enlightenment in their understanding. Playing in the subway, that's access to over 10,000 people who
it's
can give
amazing,
you
yeah.
direct feedback, who can, interact with you. And it takes a lot of courage to be able to do it. Not many musicians have the courage to do that. And, that's not any fault for against me, against them. But you also have to understand, again, as a musician, we cater to the hearts. And what is the best way than to go out and reach to someone? A perfect example is I started playing in the subway in 2015, and my master's recital was in 2018. 3 weeks before my master's recital, I made a big sign, 3 feet by 4 feet, and I put it out there next to me. And it had all the details of my master's recital at Manhattan School of Music.
Oh,
And as soon as I walked out, it felt like it was a huge concert hall because there were no seats. There were no empty seats. There was only standing room only, and
yeah,
that was able to be possible because I was out in the subway every day. Because again, people love someone who can work, and they love someone who comes in with a good attitude. So those two things were the two guiding forces in my life for a really, really long time, and still are. And that's what gravitated towards people. And the music was just an icing on the cake because, again, you could be a great musician, but if your attitude is sucky, nobody wants to work with you, nobody wants to see you.
exactly.
And that was the thing
Yes.
about.
And you never know who you can meet at the subway, right? People
You
walking
are
by see you.
absolutely right.
And we have seen some amazing stories of musicians playing the subway, right? You met one that
Oh, that
now,
guy who was on America's Got Talent, I think. I
Yes, the
watched it.
singer.
Mike?
Yes, Mike. He's in a Mike Young.
I watched
yes,
Mike.
yes,
I was
yes.
working at a Wall Street company. I believe it was like '09, 10, 11. And
Mm-hmm.
I worked off right off 52nd Street. And I saw him probably 4 nights a week coming home from work. And there were times that I literally got on the train, the door was about to close, and she was working downtown. I went like this, and I jumped back on the platform just so I could listen to another song. And then years later, I saw him on YouTube. I'm like, wow, it's amazing. I remember that guy from the subway.
Hopefully
Mm-hmm.
you'll be the next one, right? We never know.
Amen. Amen. We got to speak it into existence. It will happen.
Yes,
Exactly.
It
yes.
definitely will.
I've got a question for you. When you're performing now on online live,
Mm-hmm.
do you think people are asking for, or do they want to listen to any different types of music when it's difficult out? Do they want to listen to songs that are just uplifting? Do they want to listen to music that actually might make them sad to feel their emotions? Do you notice any difference in what?
Um,
Question.
that's a great question.
Yeah.
I got one feedback, and the feedback was I should be more diverse with the music because some of my musicians, some of my friends who listen to me faithfully, they've heard the same songs for 3 weeks in a row, and it's like, hey, you should change it up. And I was like, okay, that's fine because I have a huge repertoire. But as far as uplifting songs, I haven't had a request for Christian songs just yet. But
Mhm.
I've gotten a request for feel good songs like "What a Wonderful World."
I love that.
I've gotten that one. I've gotten "My Way." I've gotten "You Raised Me Up" because it's a very touching song.
Beautiful.
And so those are the requests that I've gotten. Most of the time, my friends just want to hear me play, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm very, very blessed to just to have that companionship, that support, that love. It's amazing.
And what's your favorite type of song that you like to play? Which
Whew,
style?
that is really hard. It depends on what time of the day. to be honest with you. In the morning, I can play How Great Thou Art for like 3 hours. In the early afternoon, I could play standard classical repertoire. In the evening, I could play jazz. And that's to me, in my mind, that's how music is encompassed. Because when I wake up in the morning, I'm very grateful to see another day. And the best way for me to show my gratefulness is to play, uplifting songs, to play Christian songs. And during the day, like when I'm going to the park on a normal afternoon, I would listen to classical music in my headphones because it just has such a strong connection with nature. The way the music moves at times. There are times where I'm listening to music and it's in my headphones, and for some reason, whatever's outside going on is moving rhythmically with what's going in my headphones. Like the music is playing the soundtrack of life. And in the afternoon, in the evening, it's such a jazzy feeling. You feel like you're out of work. You can take your tie off and let it relax. And, you can go in and listen to somebody blow over some nice changes. And so that's the feeling that I get. And most of the time when I do have these gigs that are in the evening, most people want to listen to jazz. So, that's the curve for it for me.
So no band, you don't join any band, you always play by yourself, always solo?
I do join bands. Right now I play with the United Nations Orchestra, and with the United Nations, the United Nations Orchestra is an orchestra full of amateur musicians. So it's not a paying gig, and it's filled with musicians who work for the UN and other professional musicians in the city. And I was also playing on Broadway. I played on My Fair Lady last year. And I was waiting to get another at Lincoln Center, which was a dream come true. And
welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, more will come. And I was waiting to do Fiddler on the Roof, but that closed down last year as well. So hopefully when this is all over, I can get back into the networking scene. I'm part of the musicians union, so all I have to do is just get in front of the right people and, play with them and make it happen. And as far as on the jazz side, it's more so about doing jam sessions and really gelling with people so that we see how our musical, characteristics blends with each other, and then we can take it from there.
Now I have to ask one more question. Do you play any bossa nova?
Yes, I know Blue Bossa.
Blue Bossa?
Yeah, Blue Bossa is by Mongo Santa Maria. It's a bossa nova piece. It's mainly for improvisation, but has a really cool bossa feel to it. And that's one of it. I think the other one is Girl from Ipanema. That's
the Girl from Ipanema, the classic.
Yeah, I really like that one as well. There's another one, but I forgot the name of it. Afro Blue is not a bossa nova, but it's close to it. Yeah, but those are the pieces that I know.
Wonderful.
Can you play for us today by any chance?
I would love to listen to you.
Give me 2 seconds. Well, two minutes. I'm gonna turn my stuff on, and then we can get some music going.
Yeah, can't wait to listen to you. Actually, we have listened to him before, right? For me, it'll be the first time. Yes.
Yeah. So I have my connector. Right.
We'll let you surprise us. You pick the song that you enjoy playing, and I'm sure we'll enjoy as well.
Okay.
Okay.
What are you guys in the mood for?
I like everything you play, so no, do me a favor. Would you mind playing that that tango piece? I heard you play that one time.
Libre Tango, sure.
Exactly. And I love that. I love It's a Wonderful World. I think I've heard you even play Ave Maria. I love you. So maybe that tango piece, I don't know. If you don't mind.
Sure, I'll play Libre Tango right now for you.
And then we'll let you pick a song. I mean, I love It's a Wonderful World, but and anything. I don't want to cry though. But that song makes me cry. But
it does for me too, man. I think even in this time, it's still a wonderful world because
I agree with you 100%. It doesn't make me cry because of what's going on. It's it's just kind of a song that makes me cry. I love it. And crying isn't always a bad thing.
It's not. It's a way of showing emotions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, give me a quick second. Let me make sure that my lips are up and running. All right, awesome. Good. We are ready to go. And here is Libre Tango.
Thank you so much.
You're
That
welcome.
was beautiful.
That was Libre Tango by Astor Piazzolla.
Oh, the best.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow. Thank you.
Let's see. So I'm gonna go down the list here and try to find. Oh, here's a good song.
Maybe the girl from Ipanema or whatever you want.
I was thinking a Leonard Cohen favorite of mine, and I think everybody. Hallelujah.
Exactly.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful
Okay.
choice.
Hallelujah, yeah. was so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Ego,
guys
really,
so much for having me. I really appreciate this, and I'm
you
gonna
are
continue.
amazing. You're such
Eganam.
You guys are
wonderful. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate having the opportunity to talk to you. You're such a wonderful person. You're such a, very inspirational. You're a devoted man of faith. And we love the journey you're on. And hopefully you and I, we've met in the past. Hopefully you and I will be seeing each other again in the future.
And hopefully we are going to see your concert live, so in person. Like, I'll give you a big hug. Yes.
We're going to advertise your Facebook Live. Do you mind, just before we finally say goodbye, just a little bit of It's a Wonderful World, just because I think people need it.
Yes.
If you don't mind.
It
is a wonderful world.
Yes. Gotta believe, gotta hope, have hope that we're going to get through this. Yes.
There we go. All right, change the sound a little bit, and I am ready.
Woo. No, something like- Woo-hoo.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hats
Hats off to you.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you so
You
much.
are amazing.
You're amazing.
Thank you. I really
Thank you
appreciate
so much for taking the time out of your busy day to speak with us today. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, with anything in life, it all starts with saying hello.
Yes.
Thank
Walk
you.
up to a person. Hello, my name is
Eganam.
whatever. I love your smile. I love your energy. I love your music. It doesn't matter if even with the mask, no mask. It all starts with hello and building a relationship. And that's the beauty of life. And that's how I met you.
Yes, absolutely right.
Just walked up to you, and or maybe you walked up to me. I don't remember. You were probably playing, and I said hello, and I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful for you guys having me on your podcast this morning. I'm really excited to see how go back and watch it and get
exactly.
some so
and Wednesday at 7.
Yes, Wednesdays. Until this quarantine is over at 7 p.m. sharp.
So again, it's on live on Facebook.
On Facebook, you can search my name, Eganam Segebefia, Eganam, and my last name is Segbefia. And if you prefer to watch on Instagram, it would also be Wednesdays at 7 p.m., not a.m. And it's at EAZY360, which is Easy360. Just spelled with a Z instead of an S, and I look forward to joining you guys and see you guys later.
Thank you so much.
God bless.
God bless you.
So much.
Thank you. Bye.
Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and God bless
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.